can you oppress up? Can you, as an inferior, oppress a superior?
Probably. At some point, maybe.
Okay, let's put it in something maybe that you'll understand a little better. Are you familiar with classism?
Yes.
Okay, cool. What is the unit of measure of superiority in the system on the basis of class?
Probably money.
Money. Okay, so rich, superior, poor, inferior, right?
Right.
Okay. Can anyone not rich oppress the rich in the system on the basis of class?
Well, probably not with money.
Okay, so, but we're talking about the system on the basis of class. So, no, poor people cannot oppress rich people because they lack the means of superiority, which is money, correct?
Right.
Okay, heard. Now let's move over to racism, the system on the basis of race. The unit of measure of superiority is white. So if anyone not white is not white, can you oppress the superior as an inferior?
I mean, I'm trying to figure out where you're going with this. I mean, because...
I just want you to answer the question and we'll go from there.
So, I mean, I don't know, because you're talking about human beings. Money is not a human being. It's a little bit different.
Pause. We're talking about people with money. The unit of measure of superiority is money. So in the system on the basis of class, we're not talking about race. We're not talking about anything, not religion, not nothing. We're just talking about classism, system on the basis of class. People are separated into classes on the basis of how much money they have. So rich people being the superior because they have the most of that measure, which is money. Everyone else who is not rich being inferior, with the pole opposite being poor or having no money. Okay. So in that system on the basis of class, money is the measure of superiority. So the more money a person has, the more superior they are. Understand?
Okay, yes.
Okay, cool. So anyone who is not rich cannot oppress the rich because they lack the means to oppress. They lack the funds. Okay? Move over to racism. The unit of measure of superiority is white. As you scroll down, people get less and less appearing white, right? Or meeting the threshold of white. As you scroll up, right, the closer to whiteness you get, right? But ultimately, the unit of measure of superiority is white. Anyone not white, inferior.
Okay.
The pole of inferiority being black people. Okay. Can anyone not white oppress white people, the superior, in the system on the basis of race?
Well, I guess if they have enough money.
No, we're not talking about classism. We're talking about racism.
Right, but on racism, if they didn't have any money, probably not.
I'm going to go ahead and stop you there. There is no amount of money that is going to buy you out of racism, as there are rich black people who still experience racism. That is a fallacy, and you are conflating the two things. We talked about classism. That is separate. Do they overlap at a point? Absolutely. But there is no amount of money that is going to give you or change your race.
Okay.
So in the system on the basis of race, will you be able to oppress white people?
No. So can you give me some examples of racism?
Some examples of racism? Is that what you asked me?
Yeah, that experiences that only black people have that white people do not.
So racism is not just felt by black people, it's felt by anyone not white. Anyone not white experiences racism.
Okay. In what ways today?
In what ways today?
Mm-hmm.
So are you asking me you're basically asking me what can a black person not do that a white person can?
Yeah, because I'm not trying to be a smart aleck or anything. I really want to try to learn.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Cool. All right. So we're going to talk about unconscious bias. Okay. So these are things that you think and feel, but maybe not necessarily consciously, things that are unconscious in your mind that influence your actions towards people. Okay. So, for instance, comments that might be made, right? Or appropriating one's culture, right? That isn't yours, right? When you attempt to, in your mind, compliment someone, but you're actually doing and saying something that's incredibly racist, right? Like you're articulate, right? Or whatever the case may be, as if to assume that they would not be articulate or sound intelligent or have any type of coherent thought, right? These are all examples of microaggressions and things like that, right? But in terms of racism and things like that, today is typically presented in the form of white privilege, right? In the fact that, number one, right, first and foremost, you did not necessarily know or possibly never even really thought about who invented racism and why was it invented? How does it work, right? In thinking that white people can experience racism in and of itself is actually racist, right? Because racism is a very specific power that only the superior has, and the superior in the system on the basis of race is white. The fact that you don't even know what the qualifications or stipulations are is your white privilege.
You're saying, not me, you're saying that white people are superior.
No,
is that
the
what
system, no, the system on the basis of race says white people are superior, and that is the current system that we are under.
Why are we under that system?
Because we invented it and stuck it there.
That was 1,000,000 years ago.
It's not 1,000,000. It's only a few hundred.
I'm superior over a black human being.
You don't have to feel that you're superior, right? When it was created, there were those who felt that the white race was superior, hence why they created the system. But here's the deal. Hang on, just listen. I'm getting there. So remember how earlier you talked about, there's different types of racism. There's systemic, there's interpersonal, there's structural, or institutional rather, right? Though you think those are types, that's not types. Institutional racism is racism. Interpersonal racism is racism. Systemic racism is racism. Environmental racism is racism. And what that is, right, are different modes of how racism operates, right? How does it discriminate, prejudice, or antagonize people, right? So it uses systems, right? Because at the end of the day, nobody's born racist. You're taught that shit, right? So the system uses the education system to indoctrinate people on what racism isn't. Like you think racism means, I think I'm superior, and that's it. But no, because there are examples of racism where one does not feel or think or even believe that their race is superior, and you can still racism people, right?
Because, can we back up for 1 second? Because you're telling me that I'm racist because it was designed 100 years ago by white people to say that we're superior, but then you say that we're not born racist, that we're taught.
Correct. So we are indoctrinated.